I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. This week we're looking at higher education, and specifically Missouri Southern. It's a changing field in many areas, and today we're visiting with our Provost and Vice President of Academic Affairs, Dr. Paula Carson. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
I guess you could say higher education is constantly evolving.
It is constantly evolving. Expectations are changing. There are many stakeholders who are weighing in on what the ideal outcomes are. And in many ways, higher education is going through the transformation that other industries like healthcare has gone through in the past. There is, it used to be, we would assume that if you had qualified faculty and they selected competent textbooks and had a syllabus that was thorough, that education was happening. There's not that assumption anymore. Instead, now we're looking specifically at what did students know when they entered into a campus, and what do they know when they leave, and what is the value added that can be attributed to that institution. So it is much more outcomes-based than process-based.
So really, what's the end result after you go through that education? Well, I know a lot of changes are happening here at Missouri Southern and statewide as well. The state of Missouri has kind of said, let's look at what we're doing and take some different directions. And one of that is getting out of school within those 4 years.
It's very, very true. Nationwide, there is great concern that we have, even as a society, begun to measure graduation at what we call the 150% graduation time. And instead of the 4 years, and we try to create schedules and programs that can be completed in 4 years, financial aid and the official iPads and other indicators of collegiate success have started measuring 150% or the graduation rate at 6 years. And that is really something that has happened without a great deal of explicit acknowledgement by society. It just has sort of evolved that way, as students in many cases are working and are taking fewer hours, and who are trying to make sure they're optimally prepared to enter the labor force have taken just a longer and longer amount of time to get out. So if you look at the extra 2 years, it is indeed not only just the extra expense in tuition and fees and books for students, but there's that opportunity cost associated with not being in the labor force 2 years earlier. And that hurts lifetime earnings, but it also adversely impacts employers in the region who have more limited labor supply because students are staying in longer.
So now we're shooting for 15 hours per semester in 4 years to get out, which means there have been some adjustments to the requirements for graduation.
Exactly. So we are embarking on, and many schools throughout Missouri and throughout the nation are embarking on a platform that was developed by an organization called Complete College America. And they have developed, in many ways it's just an informational campaign that originally was known as 15 to Finish. It has evolved a little bit to become known as a program, Do the Math. And do the math because not every program can really allow students to complete in 8 semesters of 15 hours each. But 15 to Finish essentially means that each and every semester a student should successfully complete 15 credit hours, and then after taking 4 years of fall and spring 15-hour loads, they should be able to finish with their baccalaureate degree. At Missouri Southern, historically, our degree programs were a minimum of 124 hours. So we have, throughout this past year, among many other initiatives, reduced whenever possible. And whenever possible means so long as there is no external regulation or accrediting body that prohibits it. So whenever possible, we'll reduce every single degree program to 120 hours. Notably, there exist exceptions in teacher ed. And teacher ed preparation programs are regulated to a large extent by DESE in the state of Missouri. And DESE really articulates. And so if you are actually want to be a science teacher, and more specifically a high school biology teacher, that particular curriculum can actually run for 5 years, even if you are taking 15 hours per semester. So we are embarking on a big rollout of this awareness campaign of 15 to Finish. We are in advising right now, and we are trying to encourage all advisors to make sure that students sign up for 15 hours and they understand the impact of successfully completing 15 hours to get them done. We are trying to educate parents and others who come to orientations, and so we want to make everyone aware that taking 12 hours can really set you back and set your entire career success back a significant amount.
So that 12-hour mark is still the official full-time student, but to be reaching that goal of completion in 4 years, that 15 needs to be more of your goal.
That's exactly right. So ideally we have, and this is another thing we've done this year, we have developed what we call guided pathways. So that is very specific semester by semester schedule. So if this is the major that you want to pursue, first semester your freshman year, these are the specific 15 hours you should take in order to meet prerequisites, in order to logically be able to build on courses. And those are brand new. We have implemented those this year as well. But it's a little bit ironic because we're encouraging students to take 15 hours to finish in 4 years, but the federal graduation rates and the other indicators of institutional success are based on 6-year graduation rate, and federal financial aid is based on successful completion of 12 hours. And so 12 hours is what students need in order to really continue to receive financial support
aids
from a variety of but it's not going to get them out in the number of years. And as a result of that, and it's a little bit ironic, they may actually run out of forms of financial aid if they continue past 4 years.
So the clock keeps ticking and they're
Exactly.
using their money. Listen, I know it took a lot of work, a lot of teamwork, people looking at how are we going to make these changes. And at the last Board of Governors meeting, you shared some of the highlights of these changes. So for the public, let's hit some of those key points that a new student perhaps coming to Missouri Southern next fall, they're going to have a new program, a new catalog as we call it to follow, and our new current students can also look at that. What are some of the differences, some of the key points?
Okay, good. There are actually just so many process or procedural changes we have made to enact these content changes. So we are actually not even printing catalogs anymore, the traditional bulletins. And historically, many of the viewers may have looked up classes and the available times and instructors in a newspaper type publication schedule of classes. We're not publishing that anymore as well. That access enabled by technology is available in real time. So you can go to our website.
Go to your web and your
Exactly.
find it.
And identify exactly, as soon as you print those things, they're obsolete because we're constantly making changes. And so you can go in real time to the website and see exactly how many seats are available and what very specific course. The bulletin is changing as well. And in order to help students keep up with all these changes, we actually have implemented this year a couple of significant pieces of technology. Our catalog is online. We have a new software program we've implemented called Echolog, and it actually is very dynamic. So students are able to look at, for example, if I have taken these courses and I want to switch from this major to the other, what counts, what doesn't, what will transfer, what do I have to do instead? And so they can delve down. If they have choices of a couple of gen ed electives that they can take, they can just click on, find the descriptions, find the prerequisites, find how it fits in. And then we are also very excited to be implementing a degree audit program. And the degree audit program is almost like an academic GPS. So it tells students, here's the guided pathway. It says you're supposed to be taking these 15 hours. It looks like you're registering for something else. And it will give an alert. And it will say, you sure you don't want to take this course over here? And the student may have a compelling reason to deviate. And then it will say, okay, if you do this, you're going to get off a sequence and you may add a semester to your curriculum. And so if you really want to take this other course, maybe we can switch the order or something else. So it's very dynamic planning, and it empowers the student to make sure that they stay on track. So if you're looking, you say, well, my advisor recommended that I take these courses, but this looks more interesting to me this semester, it will let you know the implications and consequences of doing that. But a couple of the significant things we've done, we are looking at our gen ed core. It's very, very important that that our students are able to engage in critical thinking and critical communication and problem solving. And those are the fundamental skills students acquire through the gen ed core or the liberal part of their education. At Missouri Southern, we very much respect it. We want to protect it, but we also want to make sure that it's optimized. And so we have actually cut a couple of hours from that gen ed core. The places we have cut are in really two significant areas. One is in what we call the freshman orientation class. So it was our University Experience 100. Previously, it was a full semester, 3-hour course, and we have reduced that to a 1-hour student credit course that is offered the first semester, largely the first semester when students enter in an 8-week compressed format.
So right at the beginning of their time here.
And it is intended to help students survive the transition from high school to college, and to help them become familiar with all the resources and opportunities that are available at Missouri Southern. So we were able to cut a couple of hours off the curriculum. The other change that we have made this semester is that we had an expectation and requirement that often resulted in a course being taken that we refer to as our computer literacy. Now, when this requirement was first implemented, it was very important. Technology was being introduced. There was new software development. But largely in many of our fields, we know the productivity programs that actually children start learning in elementary school right now are the ones that we continue to use. Then we also know that as technology evolves, many specific disciplines have advanced technology requirements and software that they would like for their students to learn. So we've eliminated that requirement, not because we think technology is not important or the computer literacy is not important. It's critically important. It's just students are coming in with a different skill set and different level of mastery of programs now than they did 10 and 11 years ago. And so we are still going to continue for returning adult students who need that remediation just to build their technical base or just for confidence building. We're still going to offer that class, but we have taken it out as a requirement and let the academic programs and departments decide these are the technologies we want our students to learn, and maybe it's best if they are diffused throughout the variety of major courses throughout a student's academic career as opposed to this 1 3-hour semester course.
So students in accounting is using a different program than somebody over in a more creative area, writing and things like that. So tying all of those together. So we're looking at some of these changes. You mentioned the computer literacy. Languages are also something that, we have a lot of the languages here at Missouri Southern. You made some changes in adapting the modern languages.
Yes. At Missouri Southern, we have a global mission, and we respect and honor that mission, and we want to persevere in doing everything that we can to achieve that mission. And so obviously languages are one of those areas. Right now the majority of our students are in Spanish, French, but then we have this very unique capacity to offer Asian languages, both Chinese and Japanese. Over the past decade, as higher ed has experienced constricting budgets and fiscal cuts throughout the country, there are many, many language departments that have just fallen by the wayside. Languages have been completely obliterated from many offerings at many universities. We are struggling very, very hard to keep those. They're part of our mission. We think it's a critical part of our ability to graduate global citizens. And so we are working very hard to maintain those. On the other hand, we also have this other oppositional force, and that there are many students who are very apprehensive about taking a language that is different than English, about taking a modern language or a foreign language. They're just hesitant. And, maybe there's some neurological research that as you age, it becomes harder to master languages. But if students tend to be phobic in any areas, it tends to be in the quantitative mathematical area and then in the area of foreign languages.
So those are the two areas of concern, right?
Exactly, for incoming academic preparation. So what we have done is something very interesting, particularly where the character set for our Asian languages is very, very different. Students are apprehensive enough about Spanish and French, but in the Asian languages, and very few universities of our size or any size are able to offer Asian. We have very strong sister university relationships, study abroad programs in Asian countries. So what we were able to do is recognize that it is a very challenging task for students to learn languages with different character sets and embedded in a very different culture. So we have combined Chinese and Japanese so they can take the first half of each, not have to go into the literature components. And we have also offered them in a different format, a more compressed and accelerated or a more immersive environment. Okay. So instead of taking 3 hours a week, an hour on Monday, an hour on Wednesday, an hour on Friday throughout an entire 18-week semester, they are accelerated. So the actual time to complete the class is far fewer weeks. They spend more hours a day, each and every day, focusing on those languages.
So they're applying it each day. It's retaining it
every day, and we hope there's not time in between to forget. So it is still very salient and relevant to them when they come back. we're doing other things in languages. We're exploring the possibility of discipline-based languages. So for example, for our Yours to Lose program, we are looking at developing a medical Spanish language, which is very desired, very, very needed. And so instead of traditional Spanish 101, we would be focusing on communication, both written but primarily oral, and maybe some nonverbal communication cues as well, in different languages that we think would really help pre-med students who are eventually going to be physicians.
Right. They're going to need to communicate with those patients that they're having.
Exactly.
You mentioned students coming into the campus, and of course we have the traditional freshmen, but sometimes we get a lot of people who are returning to campus maybe after work or the military and so forth, and I understand you're also working to help some of the transitions for those people. Maybe they served a number of years in the military and have some experience that they want to apply.
We do. We have tried to be very, very progressive and recognizing and appreciating that members of the military and all its different forces and all the different natures of relationships, so National Guards and active duty and the like, are just by nature of their service exposed to a variety of different courses. Maybe they don't look like full semester academic 3 student credit hour courses, but a variety of learning experiences and opportunities that are actually classroom based or laboratory based, as well as a variety of life learning experiences. And they come after having mastered these skills back to school. So in collaboration with our registrar's office and also with our Go Gold program and our veteran students organizations, we have been working very, very hard to really expand the portfolio of development classes, learning experiences, professional background experiences that we can articulate into credit to try and facilitate their graduation.
Right. They're coming in with a lot of that core information already based in that they've gained through their experience.
Exactly.
And tying that together. So being able to assess and constantly look at what we're doing, kind of the theme, what we're talking about. I know the state of Missouri, you mentioned at the beginning, they're looking at what's happening in higher education. There's been calls to review your programs, avoid redundancy around the state. Is that process of reviewing what's being done so that you don't remain static statewide or within an institution? Yeah,
it's a really good question. So the state is in the process. They began in early March of doing an academic program review. The determinant of what programs are going to be reviewed is based on the number of graduates, the average number of graduates on a rolling basis over the past 3 years in any degree program. And in order to be exempt from further review, a program would have to have at least 10 graduates on average per year over the past 3 years. We do have some programs that fall into those numbers, but there are programs that are very valuable and that we want to keep. They're unique offerings to us, and we think that they do serve a need. In some cases, we're able to, with really no additional cost or no additional faculty, develop a specific major in an area because, for example, those faculty here are already teaching in the general ed core. And so there is really no economic impact to us being able to offer those. But we are looking in some cases, should we combine majors and develop tracks so there's a common core for us to be able to do that. So we're trying to look very, very strategically to respect that every penny we spend on this campus needs to be spent in the most efficient way. We are trying very, very hard to focus on career readiness. So we want all of the programs where students can come out and have identifiable career paths. We're trying to educate our students on that incoming through a variety of different techniques so that they know exactly what the options are and what the compensation and what the career progression structure looks like for them in those particular careers. So we are going to be embarking, the state is going to do this academic program review over the next 6 months. And it is currently unfolding, but it could well be that the state, Missouri Department of Higher Education does come in and say it just doesn't make sense for any particular university to offer some specific program. There are other options for the citizens of Missouri to pursue that degree. It's just not cost effective. But it's going to be a very collaborative process. We'll be able to work. We'll have the chance to say, if you just look at the number of graduates, it looks this way. But for example, in teacher ed, we have a variety of different tracks, but You know, the significant thing is that a student who is majoring in middle school social studies takes a lot of the same curriculum as middle school history,
There's a
for
lot of
example.
overlap in things, right.
A great deal of overlap. So sometimes numbers can be deceiving. We know that, but we're going to take it very seriously because we want to make sure we offer the best value to our students. We do, however, have ongoing processes. One of our strategic plan goals is to make sure that every program that can be accredited is accredited
Right.
by an external professional accrediting agency. And we are pursuing a couple of new accrediting organizations. Our social work program is it's a brand new program. It's in its second year of a 3-year cycle of accreditation. And right now, we're very excited to be looking at the feasibility of getting our music program accredited. Very, very proud of that program because the curriculum really very much focuses both on vocal and on instrumental. There is some pedagogy and education and real life conducting experience, and then we have the music industry component. So we are looking at that as a new accreditation as well. But otherwise, every program that is not externally accredited has a comprehensive internal review where we bring in outside experts from other institutions in other states every 5 years.
So constantly looking at what we're doing here at Missouri Southern. Now, within recent years, Missouri Southern started the graduate programs, and I know that this past year we heard the enrollment there's a lot of demand for those programs. Does that continue to be something that you're seeing?
That has continued to be. This year we have made a great deal of progress in establishing our graduate program infrastructure. I'm very excited about it. We have a graduate council. We have graduate student handbook. We have undergone serious deliberations about what does graduate education mean, and how is it differentiated from undergraduate education, and how can we do it in a very cost-efficient way, in a way that enables technology whenever it is useful. And we have listened very much to the community about you would like students to have post-baccalaureate experiences and credentials in these particular areas. So we are really just delighted and project just a continuing increase of strategic graduate program offerings. We just completed the first year of our Master's of Science in Management, which is offered out of the business school. We're very excited about this versus an MBA because quite frankly, it is, as a Master's of Science in Management, it's flexible enough that we don't have to remediate a lot of students and have them go back and take a bunch of undergraduate hours in business before they can progress. It can be tailored to the needs of a specific industry. So that program started and just grew well beyond what we expected. We're also seeing really strong enrollment growth this particular time for the fall in our Masters of Education in Curriculum and Instruction. So all of those programs are growing really, really significantly, and we are trying to recognize the extra responsibility and need to educate graduate students with the faculty. We are developing specific criteria for who can teach in the graduate programs to make sure that they are on the cutting edge of research in their particular field. So we are just thrilled and delighted about our graduate offerings, and we'll absolutely be rolling out more over the coming years.
Great. So something, as they say, stay tuned. We can find out more about the possibilities. In addition to online, on-campus education, we have an online component. You mentioned that a little bit in some of the programs. So the people in the traditional days who just come to campus have completely evolved, and you can take online courses and get a lot of your requirements without having to have to step on campus.
Yes, we do have some degree programs that you can obtain online completely. I also wanted to mention this. This past year we've made great progress and had significant enrollment in our Jane campus. So it's a shared facility with Crowder and McDonald County, and we are able to attract a lot of students from out of state. It's right there on the Arkansas border into that particular program. We are offering actually full degree programs there, and we are very excited and pleased to be able to partner with Crowder to be able to offer that. We have some specific online programs in areas such as business that are highly demanded, but then we have some very unique programs we're excited to offer online. Environmental safety and health program. It is out of the biology department, which is very, very unique, but they get that solid biological science and then sort of the industrial side of biology with regard to safety and health. That program is of significant interest to people globally, really, because one, it's a unique program, one of the very few accredited in the whole United States. But going back to military, people with military experience, for example, or significant experience in manufacturing facilities, but more on the line, who want to move into management positions or project management positions, are very interested in that. So we're very, very proud of that unique program being online. But we do have several options. We are very vigilant about making sure what students learn online is comparable to what they would be learning if they were physically here. We have very specific expectations for faculty and student engagement. So it's not the correspondence course of old where they would mail you a packet and you would write the answers and mail it in, and maybe 6 months later hear something. It's very interactive, very engaged. We have a big technological infrastructure to help us make sure we're optimally educating students online.
It sounds like a lot of what we've talked about today, communicating with the business, the industry, you know, preparing our students for those jobs of tomorrow.
Yes, career readiness is very, very critical. We just owe it to our students to make sure when they leave here, they have the specific professional, disciplinary, technical skills. But again, back to that liberal education, that they're also effective communicators, that they know how to work functionally in a team setting, that they have some knowledge of what has come before them so we don't repeat mistakes of the past. All of those things are very important to successful careers.
Preparing people for the future. Well, kind of final questions. We're recording this program in April, getting ready for May. Your feelings when you're on the stage at commencement, you see those successful students walk across and get their diploma.
Yeah, I know people say this all the time, but there is really nothing as rewarding as commencement. You know, commencement is actually a beginning, and to see all these students. For me, though, it is the pride that the students have, but I really spend probably most of my time at a commencement ceremony gazing at the audience. We have so many students who are first generation here, and when those students walk across our stage, it is really such a proud moment for the entire family. And you look and you see that pride, but you recognize the sacrifices that the entire family, the entire community has made, and it just almost brings you to tears. It is so heartwarming to see. You know, this is what we do, and this is how it makes a difference, because you know when they leave that Leggett and Platt, they are leaving to a very, very different future than when they walked in. So it is just a joyful, celebratory event that everyone looks forward to.
So that's something that we can look forward to coming up, and a big moment each year for Missouri Southern.
Absolutely.
Well, Dr. Carson, I'd like to thank you for sharing some of the highlights and the changes, and as Missouri Southern continues to grow and evolve, like we said at the beginning of the program.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to be here, and thank you all so much for your interest in our academic program and development.
You're welcome. And I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us this week on Newsmakers. I'm Judy Stiles. Hope you can join me again next week at the same time on this station. We'll see you then.